Welcome back to Don't Call Me Chicken, our channel about curiosities on science, nature, animals, movies, entertainment, and much more. Today we will talk about a fascinating and somewhat scary topic: phobias. Phobias are irrational fears that can profoundly impact the lives of those who suffer from them. But don't worry, because today we will explore the meaning of each of them in a simple and curious way. Before we continue, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notification bell to stay updated on the latest videos we will publish. Top 10 phobias you might not have thought you had. 10. Acrophobia. Fear of heights. Acrophobia is the fear of heights, characterized by a strong fear of looking down from balconies, windows, roofs, or elevated places. Excessive height is not necessary. Even a few meters above the ground can trigger anxiety and the feeling of falling or jumping into the void. This fear is a natural self-defense mechanism. But in people with acrophobia, the reaction is amplified even in seemingly safe situations, like a terrace at home. Symptoms of acrophobia include panic, distress, sweating, tachycardia, discomfort, dizziness, and fear of losing control. Therapy can help manage this phobia and allow people to overcome the fear of heights. Acrophobia, on the other hand, is the fear of being at the top of a building, such as a tower. 9. Arachnophobia. Fear of spiders. Arachnophobia, the fear of spiders, is one of the most common phobias, primarily affecting women. This disorder can range from simple disgust to limiting people's freedom and autonomy. Statistically, about 50% of women and 18% of men have a fear or discomfort reaction to spiders, while 4% suffer from severe arachnophobia. This type of phobia usually develops in childhood or adolescence and is characterized by an irrational and intense fear that leads the person to avoid any contact with the feared object. Symptoms of arachnophobia can vary but may include tachycardia, sweating, nausea, trembling, gastrointestinal distress, dizziness, hyperventilation, and panic attacks. Additionally, the anxiety can be anticipatory, where the person experiences fear just by imagining the dreaded situation and reacts with avoidance behaviors. Did you know that only some spider species are dangerous to humans? 8. Agoraphobia. Fear of open spaces. The term agoraphobia comes from the Greek word agorn, which means a square, originally used to describe people's fear of crowded places. In reality, agoraphobia symptoms manifest as fear of being in situations where escape or getting help would be difficult. This anxiety disorder causes intense fears and anxiety when being alone in places from which it would be complicated or embarrassing to leave without immediate help. People with agoraphobia may fear situations where something terrible might happen to them, and there is no one around to help. Often, agoraphobia develops following the onset of panic attacks or minor anxiety crises. To cope with this fear, the individual systematically avoids places and situations where they might be hindered in receiving help. Commonly avoided situations include going out alone, driving or traveling by car, attending crowded places, taking buses or airplanes, or being on bridges or elevators. Agoraphobia can be linked to past traumas or panic attacks. 7. Claustrophobia. Fear of confined spaces. Claustrophobia is one of the most common phobias. Those affected by it experience excessive and irrational fear of enclosed and tight spaces, such as tunnels or elevators. In these situations, claustrophobic individuals will do anything to get outside and enjoy the freedom of breathing freely. Fears related to claustrophobia include the fear of being crushed by the ceiling and floor, the distress of running out of air and suffocating, and the fear of fainting due to a lack of air and light. Environments like the cinema, elevators, and the subway become distressing for those who suffer from this phobia. Claustrophobia can lead to avoiding situations such as MRI scans or preferring to use stairs to justify their anxiety. Therapeutic treatment can help confront and overcome claustrophobia, allowing people to lead a life less limited by these fears. Some people may develop claustrophobia after negative experiences in places like elevators or underground tunnels. 6. Trypophobia. Fear of holes. Trypophobia is the fear or repulsion resulting from the sight of patterns made up of closely packed small geometric shapes, such as holes, convex circles, or honeycomb hexagons. It is not an officially recognized psychiatric disorder and does not appear in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Unlike other phobias, trypophobia is related to the emotion of disgust rather than anxiety and avoidance. Some people may experience nausea, anxiety, and in some cases, fear of losing control when confronted with images containing closely packed holes. Other symptoms may include headaches, itching, and panic attacks. Trypophobia has only been discussed since 2013, mainly due to images circulating on the internet. Trypophobia has been discussed as a phenomenon of visual aversion linked to evolution and our perception of danger. 5. Coulrophobia. Fear of clowns. Coulrophobia is a psychological disorder characterized by an irrational and often intense fear of clowns. The affected individual may experience discomfort, instinctive aversion, or terror when confronted with these figures. This phobia falls under the category of specific phobias. Coulrophobia has roots in the perception of faces and expressions. The exaggerated makeup and facial expressions of clowns can be unsettling and threatening, causing a sense of ambiguity and unpredictability in their intentions. Symptoms and severity of coulrophobia vary from person to person. Some may experience vulnerability or discomfort, while others manifest extreme distress, which can lead to anxiety crises or panic attacks. Many people began to manifest this disorder after watching Stephen King's movie. 4. Hemophobia. Fear of blood. Hemophobia, also known as blood phobia, is an intense fear associated with the sight of blood. Hemophobia is a persistent and irrational fear that causes a strong sense of distress, anxiety, and disgust, sometimes leading to fainting in severe cases. The term hemophobia derives from the Greek hemo, blood, and phobos, fear. People with a fear of blood may experience extreme anguish during a blood test and may even avoid medical examinations. In some cases, they may fear bleeding from a wound or nose and react anxiously to blood scenes in movies or stories. Symptoms may include sweating, trembling, nausea, stomachache, increased heart rate, body stiffness, mental confusion, and in severe cases, fainting. It is essential to remember that these reactions are not dependent on the individual's will or courage, but are triggered by mechanisms beyond the level of consciousness. Hemophobia may be linked to an instinctive reaction to avoid potential infections or injuries. 3. Mysophobia. Fear of germs. Mysophobia, also known as germophobia, is a psychological disorder characterized by a pathological fear of germs, viruses, and dirt. This fear is accompanied by constant concern about being contaminated and consequently dying. Mysophobia may also extend to diseases, dirtiness, and bodily fluids, limiting the person's freedom of action and compromising social relationships. This disorder often manifests in individuals with obsessive-compulsive disorder, but an accurate diagnosis should be made by an experienced psychologist or psychotherapist. People with mysophobia may be compelled to continuously wash their hands, excessively clean their homes. People with mysophobia can also fear common objects like door handles due to fear of germs and contamination. 2. Thanatophobia. Fear of death. The fear of death is called thanatophobia in psychology, with etymology from the Greek words thanatos, death, and phobos, fear. This phobia can compromise our daily lives, but it should be distinguished from the fear of death common in depression, which can lead to suicidal thoughts. Thanatophobia hides different specific fears, such as the fear of dying and leaving children or causing pain to loved ones, the fear of dying young and not achieving life goals, the fear of suffering that death might entail, and the fear of the unknown of what will happen after death. This phobia can take various forms, such as the fear of dying in sleep, having a heart attack, cardiophobia, dying during childbirth, being poisoned, developing cancer, cancerophobia, or dying in an airplane, associated with the fear of flying. What characterizes thanatophobia, regardless of the situation, is the constant thought of one's own death, as if it could happen at any moment. Thanatophobia is often linked to existential anxiety and fear of the unknown. 1. Ophidiophobia, fear of snakes. Ophidiophobia is the intense and irrational fear of snakes. It is the most widespread animal phobia and is classified as a specific phobia in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, by the American Psychiatric Association. This fear goes beyond normal transient fear or simple disgust, since it can be accompanied by anxiety and, in some cases, lead to a panic attack. Although fear can be a useful emotion in protecting us from danger, in ophidiophobia, it becomes disproportionate and irrational. According to some theories, phobias, including ophidiophobia, might be genetically inherited through an evolutionary process, helping the survival of the species. The fear of venomous snakes, for example, could be considered an adaptive trait, but ophidiophobics are scared of snakes even when there is no real threat. Ophidiophobia is often extended to all animals that crawl, not just snakes. According to statistical research, it is estimated that around 12.5% of the world's population suffers from some form of phobia. This means that over 900 million people worldwide live with an irrational fear that can affect their daily lives. Always remember that phobias are irrational fears, and that it is essential to seek support and understanding if you suffer from them. Do you think you have one of these phobias? Let us know in the comments. See you in the next video.